All right. Hi, guys. I'm going to do the second installment of the Julian chapter story. So I'm starting on page 21, and I will be reading through page 36. This chapter is called Class Picture. I tried to describe what Augie looked like to my mom, but she didn't get it until the school pictures arrived in the mail. Up until then, she'd never really seen him. She'd been away on a business trip during the Thanksgiving Sharing Festival, so she didn't see him then. On Egyptian Museum Day, Augie's face had been covered with mummy gauze, and there hadn't been any after-school concerts yet. So the first time Mom saw Augie and finally started understanding my nightmare situation was when she opened that large envelope with my class picture in it. It was actually kind of funny. I can tell you exactly how she reacted because I was watching her as she opened it. First, she excitedly slit open the top of the envelope with the letter opener. Then she pulled out my individual portrait. She put her hand on her chest. "Oh, Julian, you look so handsome," she said. "I'm so glad you wore that tie Grandmere sent you." I was eating some ice cream at the kitchen table and just smiled and nodded at her. Then I watched her take the class picture out of the envelope. In lower school, every class would get its own picture taken with its own teacher, but in middle school, it's just one group picture of the entire fifth grade. So 60 kids standing in front of the entrance to the school, 15 kids in each row, 4 rows. I was in the back row in between Amos and Henry. Mom was looking at the photo with a smile on her face. "Oh, there you are," she said when she spotted me. She continued looking at the picture with a smile on her face. "Oh my, look how big Miles got," said Mom. "And is that Henry? He looks like he's getting a mustache. And who is—" And then she stopped talking. The smile on her face stayed frozen for a second or two. Then her face slowly transformed into a state of shock. She put the photo down and stared blankly in front of her. Then she looked at the photo again. Then she looked at me. She wasn't smiling. "This is the kid you've been talking about?" she asked me. Her voice had completely changed from the way it sounded moments before. "I told you," I answered. She looked at the picture again. "This isn't just a cleft palate." "No one ever said it was a cleft palate," I told her. "Mr. Tushman never said that." "Yes, he did, on the phone that time." "No, Mom," I answered her. "What he said was facial issues, and you just assumed that he meant cleft palate, but he never actually said cleft palate." "I could swear he said the boy had a cleft palate," she answered, "but this is so much worse than that." She really looked stunned. She couldn't stop staring at the photo. "What does he have exactly? Is he developmentally delayed? He looks like he might be." "I don't think so," I said, shrugging. "Does he talk okay?" "He kind of mumbles," I answered. "He's hard to understand sometimes." Mom put the picture down on the table and sat down. She started tapping her fingers on the table. "I'm trying to think of who his mother is," she said, shaking her head. "There are so many new parents in the school, I can't think of who it might be." "Is she blonde?" "No, I think she has dark hair," I answered. "I see her at drop-off sometimes." "Does she look like the son?" "Oh, no, not at all," I said. I sat down next to her and picked up the picture, squinting at it so my eyes wouldn't see it too clearly. Augie was in the front row, all the way to the left. "I told you, Mom. You didn't believe me, but I told you." "It's not that I didn't believe you," she answered defensively. "I'm just kind of surprised. I didn't realize it was this severe." "Oh, I think I know who she is," his mom. "Is she very pretty, kind of exotic, has dark wavy hair?" "What? I don't know. She's a mom." "I think I know who she is," answered Mom, nodding to herself. "I saw her on parents' night. Her husband's handsome, too." "I have no idea," I said, shaking my head. "Oh, those poor people." She put her hand over her heart. "Now you get why I've been having nightmares again?" I asked her. She ran her hands through her hair. "But are you still having nightmares?" she asked. "Yes, not every night like I did for the first month of school, but yeah," I said, throwing the picture down on the tabletop. "Why did he have to come to Beecher Prep anyway?" Oh my goodness. I looked at Mom, who didn't know what to say. She started putting the picture back into the envelope. "Don't even think about putting that in my school album, by the way," I said loudly. "You should just burn it or something." Julian, she said. Then out of the blue, I started crying. Oh, my darling, said Mom, kind of surprised. She hugged me. I can't help it, Mom, I said through my tears. I hate that I have to see him every day. That night, I had the same nightmare I've been having since the start of school. I'm walking down the main hallway, and all the kids are in front of their lockers staring at me, whispering about me as I walk past them. I keep walking up the stairwell until I get to the bathroom, and then I look in the mirror. When I see myself, though, it's not me I'm seeing, it's Augie. And then I scream. All right, at the end of that chapter, this is Photoshop, page 25. The next morning, I overheard Mom and Dad talking as they were getting ready for work. I was getting dressed for school. They should have done more to prepare the kids, Mom said to Dad. The school should have sent home a letter or something. I don't know. Come on, answered Dad, saying what? What can they possibly say? There's a homely kid in your class? Come on. Oh, you guys, this is hard to read. It's much more than that. Let's not make a big deal about it, Melissa. You haven't said Mom. Quite severe. Parents should have been told. I should have been told, especially with Julian's anxiety issues. Anxiety issues? I yelled from my room. I ran into their bedroom. You think I have anxiety issues? No, Julian, said Dad. No one's saying that. Mom just said that, I answered, pointing at Mom. I just heard her say anxiety issues. What? You guys think I have mental problems? No, they both said. Just because I get nightmares? No, they yelled. It's not my fault he goes to my school, I cried. It's not my fault his face freaks me out. Of course it's not, darling, said Mom. No one is saying that. All I meant is that because of your history of nightmares, the school should have alerted me. Then at least I would have known better about the nightmares you're having. I would have known what triggered them. I sat down on the edge of their bed. Dad had the class picture in his hands and had obviously just been looking at it. I hope you're planning on burning that, I said, and I wasn't joking. No, darling, said Mom, sitting on the other side of me. You don't need to burn anything. Look what I've done. She picked up a different photo from the nightstand and handed it to me to look at. At first, I thought it was just another copy of the class picture because it was exactly the same size as the class picture Dad had in his hands, and everything in it was exactly the same. I started to look away in disgust, but Mom pointed away from the place where Augie used to be. He was nowhere in the photo. I couldn't believe it. There was no trace of him. I looked up at Mom, who was beaming. The magic of Photoshop, she said happily, clapping her hands. Now you can look at this picture and not have to have your memory of 5th grade be tarnished, she said. That's so cool, I said. How did you do that? I've gotten pretty good at Photoshop, she answered. Remember last year how I made all the skies blue in the Hawaii pictures? You would never have known it rained every day, answered Dad, shaking his head. Laugh if you want, said Mom, but now when I look at those pictures, I don't have to be reminded of the bad weather that almost ruined our trip. I can remember it for the beautiful vacation that it was, which is exactly how I want you to remember your 5th grade year at Beecher Prep. Okay, Julian? Good memories, not ugly ones. Thanks, Mom, I said, hugging her tightly. I didn't say it, of course, but even though she changed the skies to light blue on the photos, all I ever remembered about our Hawaii trip was how cold and wet it was when we were there, despite the magic of Photoshop. Oh no. This is the next chapter and it's called Mean, page 28. Look, I didn't start out being mean. I mean, I'm not a mean kid. Sure, sometimes I make jokes, but they're not mean jokes. They're just teasing jokes. People have to lighten up a little. Okay, maybe sometimes my jokes are a little mean, but I only make those jokes behind someone's back. I never say stuff to anyone's face that will actually hurt someone. I'm not a bully like that. I'm not a hater, dudes. Attention, people. Stop being so sensitive. Some people totally got the whole Photoshop thing, and some didn't. Henry and Miles thought it was so cool and wanted my mom to email their moms the photo. Amos thought it was weird. Charlotte completely disapproved. I don't know what Jack thought because he had gone over to the dark side by now. It's like he totally abandoned his peeps this year and only hangs out with Augie now, which bugged me because that meant I couldn't hang out with him anymore. No way was I going to catch the plague from that freak. That was the name of the game I invented, the plague. It was simple. If you touched Augie and you didn't wash off the contamination, you died. Oh. Everyone in the whole grade played, except Jack and Summer. So here's the strange thing. I've known Summer since we were in 3rd grade, and I never really paid any attention to her. But this year, Henry started liking Savannah, and they were like going out. Now, by going out, I don't mean like high school stuff, which would be kind of gross, barf, disgusting. All it means when you're going out is that you hang out together and meet each other at the lockers and sometimes go to the ice cream shop on Amesfort Avenue after school. So first Henry started going out with Savannah, then Miles started going out with Shemana, and I was like, yo, what about me? And then Amos said, I'm going to ask Summer out, and I was like, no way, I'm asking her out. So that's when I started kind of liking Summer, but it totally bit that Summer, like Jack, was on Team Augie. It meant I couldn't hang out with her at all. I couldn't even say what's up to her because the freak might think I was talking to him or something. Oh. So I told Henry to have Savannah invite Summer to the Halloween party at her house. I figured I could hang out with her and maybe even ask her to go out with me. That didn't work though, because she ended up leaving the party early. And ever since then, she's been spending all her time with the freak. Okay. Okay. I know it's not nice to call him the freak, but like I said before, people have to start being a little less sensitive around here. It's only a joke, everyone. Don't take me so seriously. I'm not being mean. I'm just being funny. Okay, I think Julian is being mean. And that's all I was doing, being totally funny the day that Jack Will punched me. I had been totally joking, fooling around. I didn't see it coming at all. The way I remember it, we were just goofing together, and all of a sudden, he whacks me in the mouth for no reason. Boom. And I was like, ow, you crazy jerk face, you punched me. You actually punched me. And the next thing I know, I'm in Nurse Molly's office holding one of my teeth in my hand. And Mr. Tushman is there. Sorry, that's my dog. And I hear him on the phone with my mom saying they're taking me to the hospital. I could hear my mom screaming on the other end of the line. Then Ms. Rubin, the dean, is leading me into the back of an ambulance, and we're on the way to a hospital. Crazy stuff. When we were riding in the ambulance, Ms. Rubin asked me if I knew why Jack hit me, and I was like, duh, because he's totally insane. Not that I could talk much because my lips were swollen and there was blood all over my mouth. Ms. Rubin stayed with me in the hospital until Mom showed up. Mom was more than a little hysterical, as you can imagine. She was crying kind of dramatically every time she saw my face. It was, I have to admit, a little embarrassing. Then Dad showed up. Who did this? Was the first thing he said, shouting at Ms. Rubin. Jack Will, answered Ms. Rubin calmly. He's with Mr. Tushman now. Jack Will, cried Mom in shock. We know the Wills. How could this happen? There will be a thorough investigation, answered Ms. Rubin. Right now, what's most important is that Julian is going to be fine. Fine, yelled Mom. Look at his face. Do you think that's fine? I don't think that's fine. This is outrageous. What kind of school is this? I thought kids didn't punch each other at school like at a school like Beecher Prep. I thought that's why we pay $40,000 a year, so that our kids don't get hurt. Mrs. Albin, said Ms. Rubin, I know you're upset. I'm assuming the kid will get expelled, right? Said Dad. Dad, I yelled. We will definitely deal with this matter in the appropriate way, I promise, answered Ms. Rubin, trying to keep her voice calm. And now, if you don't mind, I think I'll leave you guys alone for a bit. The doctor will be back and you can check in with him. But he said that nothing was broken. Julian's fine. He lost a lower first molar, but that was on its way out anyway. He's going to give some pain medication and you should keep icing it. Let's talk more in the morning. It was only then that I realized that poor Ms. Rubin's blouse and skirt were completely covered in my blood. Boy, mouths do bleed a lot. Later that night, I could finally talk again without it hurting. Mom and Dad wanted to know every detail of what had happened, starting with Jack, and I had been starting with what Jack and I had been talking about right before he hit me. Jack was upset because he was paired up with the deformed kid, I answered. I told him he could switch partners if he wanted to, and then he punched me. Okay, so that's how it's written in the book. Mom shook her head. That was it for her. She was literally madder than I'd ever seen her before, and I've seen my mom pretty mad before, believe me. This is what happens, Jules, she said to Dad, crossing her arms and nodding quickly. This is what happens when you make little kids deal with issues they're not equipped to deal with. They're just too young to be exposed to this kind of stuff. That Tushman is an idiot. She said a whole bunch of other things too, but those are kind of too inappropriate, if you know what I mean, for me to repeat. But Dad, I don't want Jack to get, oh, I don't want Jack to get expelled from school, I said later on in the night. He was putting more ice on my mouth because the painkiller they had given me at the hospital was wearing off. That's not up to us, he answered, but I wouldn't trouble myself about it if I were you. Whatever happens, Jack will get what he deserves for this. I have to admit, I started feeling kind of bad for Jack. I mean, sure, he was a total dipstick for punching me, and I wanted him to get in trouble, but I really didn't want him to get kicked out of school or anything. But Mom, I could tell, was on one of her missions now, as Dad would say. She gets like that sometimes when she gets so outraged by something that there's just no stopping her. She was like that a few years ago when a kid got hit by a car a couple of blocks away from Beecher Prep, and she had like 1 million people sign a petition to have a traffic light installed. That was a super mom moment. She was also like that last month when our favorite restaurant changed its menu and they no longer made my favorite dish the way I liked it. That was another super mom moment because after she talked to the new owner, they agreed to special order the dish just for me. But Mom also gets like that for not so nice stuff, like when a waiter messes up a food order. That's a not so super mom moment because, well, you know, it can get kind of weird when your mom starts talking to a waiter like he's 5 years old. Awkward. Also, like Dad says, you don't want to get a waiter mad at you, you know. They have your food in their hands. Duh. So I wasn't totally clear on how I felt when I realized that my mom was declaring war on Mr. Tushman, Augie Pullman, and all of Beecher Prep. Was it going to be a super mom moment or a not so super mom moment? Like, would it end up with Augie going to a different school? Yay! Or with Mr. Tushman blowing his nose in my cafeteria food? Ugh. All right. This chapter is called Party, page 34. It took about 2 weeks for the swelling to go completely down. Because of that, we ended up not going to Paris over winter break. Mom didn't want our relatives to see me looking like I'd been in a prize fight. She also wouldn't take any pictures of me over the holidays because she said she didn't want to remember me looking like that. For our annual Christmas card, we used one of the rejects from last year's photo shoot. Even though I wasn't having a lot of nightmares anymore, the fact that I had started having nightmares again really worried Mom. I could tell she was totally stressed out about it. Then the day before our Christmas party, she found out from one of the other moms that Augie had not been through the same kind of admissions screening that the rest of us had been. See, every kid who applies to Beecher Prep is supposed to be interviewed and take a test at the school, but some kind of exception had been made for Augie. He didn't come to the school for the interview and he got to take the admissions test at home. Mom thought that was really unfair. This kid should not have gotten into the school, I heard her telling a group of other moms at the party. Beecher Prep is just not set up to handle situations like this. We're not an inclusion school. We don't have the psychologists needed to deal with how it affects the other kids. Poor Julian had nightmares for a whole month. Ugh, Mom, I hate your telling people about my nightmares. Henry was upset as well, Henry's mom said, and the other moms noted. They didn't even prepare us beforehand, Mom went on. That's what gets me the most. If they're not going to provide additional psychological support, at least warn the parents ahead of time. Absolutely, said Miles' mom, and the other moms nodded again. Obviously, Jack Will could have used some therapy, Mom said, rolling her eyes. I was surprised they didn't expel him, said Henry's mom. Oh, they would have, answered Mom, but we asked them not to. We've known the Will family since kindergarten. They're good they're good people. We don't blame Jack, really. He just cracked under the pressure of having to be this kid's caretaker. That's what happens when you put little kids into these kinds of situations. I honestly don't know what Tushman was thinking. I'm sorry. I just have to step in here, said another mom. I think it was Charlotte's mom because she had the same bright blonde hair and big blue eyes. It's not like there's anything wrong with this kid, Melissa. He's a great kid who just happens to look different. But, oh, I know, Mom answered, and she put her hand over her heart. Oh, Bridget, no one's saying he's not a great kid, believe me. I'm sure he is. And I hear the parents are lovely people. That's not the issue. To me, ultimately, the simple fact of the matter is that Tushman didn't follow protocol. He flagrantly disregarded the applications process by not having the boy come to Beecher Prep for the interview or take the test like every one of our kids did. He broke the rules, and rules are rules. That's it. Mom made a sad face at Bridget. Oh, dear Bridget, I can see you totally disapprove. No, Melissa, not at all, Charlotte's mom said, shaking her head. It's a tough situation all round. Look, the fact is your son got punched in the face. You have every right to feel angry and demand some answers. Thank you, Mom nodded and crossed her arms. I just think the whole thing's been handled terribly, that's all. And I blame Tushman completely. Absolutely, said Henry's mom. He's got to go, agreed Miles' mom. I looked at Mom surrounded by nodding moms and I thought, okay, so maybe this is going to turn out to be one of those really super mom moments. Maybe everything she was doing would make it so that Augie ended up going to a different school and then things could go back to the way it used to be at Beecher Prep. That would be so awesome. But a part of me was thinking maybe this is going to turn into a not so super mom moment. I mean, some of the stuff she was saying sounded kind of, I don't know, kind of harsh. I guess. It's like when she gets mad at a waiter, you end up feeling sorry for the waiter. The thing is, I know she's on this anti-Tushman mission because of me. If I hadn't started getting nightmares again, and if Jack hadn't punched me, none of this would be happening. She wouldn't be making a big deal about Augie or Tushman, and she'd be concentrating all her time and energy on good stuff like raising money for the school and volunteering at the homeless shelter. Mom does a lot of good stuff like that all the time. So I don't know. On the one hand, I'm happy she's trying to help me, and on the other hand, I would love for her to stop. All right, and that's where we'll stop. All right, bye guys.